You're listening to Unmuted Love. Hi there, I'm C. Ushelman, and with 35 years as a marriage and family therapist and 25 years as a parent of 2 children I brought home from the foster care system, I want to welcome you here to Unmuted Love Podcast, the one place where nothing is off limits to say out loud about parenting children from difficult beginnings.
Stop for a minute, stop and breathe for a minute, long it over your head, try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute, who you want to be for a minute, don't get over your head, you're like everyone else, aren't you?
Sometimes it's real sweet around here, and sometimes it ain't so pretty, because this is 100% Unmuted Love. So let's go.
You'll be just
Hello, parents. Welcome in. My intention word for the year is delight. And right now, I am delighted for you to be here for my very first podcast. It's truly been a long time coming, I know. Parents in my Love Matters Parenting Society membership have been begging for an easy access podcast for such a long time. And true to form, it's taken me just a little bit longer than the average bear to get it out here. But hey, it's here. Yay! I am here. Here's my word again. I am delighted to have a chance to talk with you and bring you some solid, no fluff information. Nothing too fancy, nothing too complex, just some basic, get down to it, help with parenting children from difficult beginnings and real steps for getting to that thing people like me are always promising, thriving. People keep saying, when's the thriving coming? It just so happens that that's my goal in life. I'm not here just to help you survive better, but really to help you live fully alive in your life while raising children from hard places. I learned the hard way while parenting my children from the foster care system some very basic principles that I know will help you manage these rough waters with your children. But more importantly, I learned how to help myself live the life I thought I was going to live when I brought my kids home. It turned out being happy was actually really hard. Right in the midst of big yelling, broken things, holes in the walls, things being stolen, lying, hoarding, refusing my love. Right in the midst of that, I learned a lot of things. I learned a trick or two along the way, and I know a lot about neuroscience now. I learned about regulation, and I really have figured out how to love my kids and be happy, even when sometimes they're not very happy. Yep, sometimes my kids are not very happy. I'm here to help you figure it all out for yourself too. So if you want what I have, which is the ability and the clarity to stand present in my own space, to be calm and regulated in the face of upset with my child, your child, my husband, my friends, whoever it is, then I invite you to come along on this journey. We won't always be talking about the same things, but we will always be talking about rising up. I hope you find some tips and tidbits for living fully alive in every show. And mostly, I hope you find your hope and joy and strength to carry on. Lift your head up, rise above, and become the person and the parent you always wanted to be. But you haven't had the tools probably, and I know you haven't had the support because honestly, no parent does. Here in Unmuted Love, this is the place where you can come to hear truth about adoption, about trauma, about parenting children from difficult beginnings and how freaking hard it is because it is nothing like a fairy tale. Unless, of course, we're talking about some kind of hero's journey where you go through hell and at some point you find yourself out of hell, because if that's your fairy tale, then maybe we are talking about a fairy tale then. I do think we are on a hero's journey. You are on it. I was on it just like you. My kids are all grown up now. They're 26 and 28 respectively, and they have trajectories of their own. They still struggle with their own complex developmental trauma, their own issues they got during their adverse childhood experience, and that had nothing to do with me. And then, of course, a lot of it had to do with me later. I own my part because I did the best I could, just like you are. I wish I had a little more support along the way so I could have done a little better when they were young, but I didn't. And that's a huge part of why I'm here today in Unmuted Love. I want you to have a little more easy access to specific information, nothing too complicated, nothing too deep. I'm not selling you anything. If you want to get into the membership, the Love Matters Parenting Society membership, you know how to do that. It's by going to unmutedlove.com and signing up. You can join the membership with lots of other parents on the same hero's journey. Lots of people there, lots of people doing really great work. Unmuted Love Podcast is going to be here for you no matter what. One day you might want to take a deeper dive, but it's not the only path, and you're here right now, and that's all I care about. I'm so happy you're here. I only want to be here for you doing what you're doing and helping you do it the best you can because, like in peaceful parenting, they're always saying, when you know better, you do better. We say that around here too. Here you will be introduced to a brain first model, a therapeutic parenting principled model, mindful presence model. This is about being a loving parent who also loves yourself. You can put yourself at the top of the pyramid and be a great parent to your children. Yep, I'm saying it right out in front, right now, parents. You have to think about yourself first and your kids second. I don't mean that in any disparaging way to the kids because I love the kids and I love my kids. But the only way that you are ever going to be able to help them is if you help yourself first. Let this be the place where you come to learn to love yourself from the inside out and your kids from the bottom up. When I say love yourself from the inside out, I'm talking about what you tell yourself about yourself between your ears, how you feel about who you are, what you put into your mind and body, and how you care for your own life. You are so majorly important to your family. If you came here because you wanted a cookie cutter for how to get your kids to stop behaving in these hugely bewildering, constantly mind-bending ways, trust me, I will get to that. But I always start with you parents first. In my not so humble opinion, you're about 80% of the battle to resolving your children's trauma. No, I'm not saying your parenting is the problem, but you personally are a big part of your parenting. Here's an example. Let's say you only got a couple hours of sleep and you have a big day ahead of you, when your child begins making an emotional volcano out of putting her shoes on. When you try to hurry her along, she tells you, "Make me," in that snarky way only your child can do, and for a moment, you maybe tip right over into trying to, make her. Or at the very least, you lose your patience and you put on your fiercest, hairy eyeball face and your most serious, business voice. I've had more than a few dissociated out-of-body moments where I imagine forcing those little feet into shoes and dragging my darling to the car, kicking and screaming. Wait, painful truth. I actually did do that more than a few times. Not proud of it. The imaginary version was way less dramatic than the actual version. I'm not going to pretend to you that I didn't lose it. What I'm suggesting is that all of us lose it when we're caring too much for others and not enough about ourselves to slow down, call up our self-compassion, and realize that our tiredness is going to feed the dysregulation beast in our children if we don't go low and slow. This same situation on a good night's sleep, with enough mindfulness to set aside time to deal with the rigid trauma brain of our child when it comes to transitioning from home to school, would likely go much differently. See what I mean? You're a big part of how it all turns out. Not 100%, but maybe as much as 80%. Hey, there's no blame, no shame here. This is where the hope lies. If a big part of the battle is managing your own self, that's something you actually have a little control over, right? Well, if you don't, I'm going to help you with that. So parents, until we meet again, keep your focus on the inside of you. We'll talk more about parenting your child from the bottom up in our next show, but we'll always be talking about the inside of you. Until then, keep looking to our next 100% Unmuted Love podcast. Hey parents, this is C. Get the help you need to end destructive and chaotic behavior in your home while parenting children from difficult beginnings. I know you need help, and the Love Plus parenting model actually works. I'm inviting you to work with me personally for 6 months in my virtual therapeutic parent program, and I guarantee you results, or 100% of your investment back. How is that for a blue ribbon deal? I'm looking forward to working with you. See you on the inside.
Stop for a minute. Stop and breathe for a minute. Long it over your head. Try to listen instead, won't you? Think for a minute. Who you want to be for a minute. Don't get over your head. You're like everyone else, aren't you? You could
The Unmuted Love podcast is hosted by me, C. Eshelman, Attachment and Trauma Specialist at the Attach Place in Sacramento, California. Our podcast producer is the amazing Saya Clark, and our theme song is Nicer by Houses on the Hill, licensed through Epidemic Sound. Thank you for being such loyal listeners here on Unmuted Love. I'll see you all next week.
You'll be just fine.